All right, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, who are now going to play in their second Super Bowl in 3 years. And the question that I'm going to be asking in this video is less about this game that they're about to play and more about what happens after this. Usually I make these videos kind of after the team gets eliminated or wins the Super Bowl, but I kind of thought it could be fun to make this before to just show the stakes. What's at stake? Is this a team that can, hey, if we lose, no worries, we're at the start of a rebuild and can make things better, or is this a team that desperately needs to win this year? Well, it's kind of neither of those in Philadelphia's case, so let's get into it. First, we can talk cap space and draft picks. What do you have to work with? They currently have $16 million in cap space. Also, remember, I sort of forgot that the Jets made multiple rental deals this season. Obviously, the Devontae Adams one. They also traded for Hassan Reddick. They traded what ended up being a third-round pick. Could have been a second, but it won't be. It'll be a third-round pick. So the Eagles do have an extra third-round pick. They haven't traded for any more picks or traded away any of their picks for this upcoming draft, at least not as of right yet. So should have at least the 8 picks, one of them being an extra third from the Jets, which is a pretty decent third-round pick. So a little bit of extra draft capital, not a ton of cap space, but some. However, you look at who they have to sign, the number next to their names are going to be the projection, my projection, or sometimes PFF has a top free agents thing where they give guesses. If they had one of the guesses, I just took it from there. But this is either their projection or my projection on how many millions of dollars each of these players could get in free agency. Some big names on this list. Josh Sweat. They actually have Milton Williams making more than Josh Sweat, which is surprising to me. I think Sweat's really good. Mekhi Becton, who was a really nice guard for them. Zach Bond, who was an All-Pro. So the only reason it's not more than 13 is because it's 1 year, and some teams don't value the linebacker position that much. But Brandon Graham, Oren Burks, Kenneth Gainwell, and Isaiah Rodgers, all players who are, if not stars, they are players you will have to replace if you let them walk. Burks and Rodgers have gotten playing time this postseason because of injuries. Burks will play in the Super Bowl. Brandon Graham could be back in the Super Bowl. So lot of interesting stuff going on here. But yeah, some big names and some key players too. Losing Sweat would hurt. Losing Zach Bond would hurt. And losing Mekhi Becton could hurt as well. So what do? And losing Milton Williams would hurt too, right? You might not be able to sign all of them though. To me, I think right off the bat, I'm kind of looking at this. They have some free agents next year as well. It doesn't get that much easier cap-wise down the road. I don't want to live in a world, if I'm an Eagles fan, where we let Zach Bond, Josh Sweat, or Mekhi Becton walk. If Milton Williams has to go and has to be a casualty, so be it. I think those are the 3 I sign, especially if Becton's only $9 million because he's another 1-year rental type guy. Again, they have a good D-line. They could survive losing a defensive lineman. Maybe they could survive losing both of them, but you are kind of taking away one of the strengths of your team. You got to re-sign Zach Bond, though. I think he is the one, if you can only get one guy, to me, he's the guy you take if that's the price tag. Get him back in the building. He's been such a impactful player for you this season. There's now a chart that I'm just going to put over the entire screen because it would be too small to put next to my face, but really, the number I want you to look at is the cap number that's kind of in the middle of this. This is Jalen Hurts' cap hit year in and year out. You see 2024, I know it's 2025 now, but it's the 2024 season. His cap hit was just $13.5 million. They were not paying him a ton this season. They kicked the can down the road. Now, he personally gets a lot of the money before then, but cap hit-wise, they were kicking the can down the road, and you see how kind of aggressive it's going to get. Next year, still just $21 million. Then it goes $31 million, $41 million, then $47 million, and finally $97 million. And keep in mind, that's in 2029 when he's not projected to play. He is not signed on that long. That's a void year. So they're kicking essentially $100 million of his deal way down the road. So for me, the Philadelphia Eagles strategy is actually kind of clear. I think that they're saying, we think we can be a Super Bowl contender. We don't know if we can do this forever. We just don't. So let's push this down the road. There will come a day where we have to deal with that, and we have to work around that and probably have a rebuilding year or two. But let's try and have a Super Bowl window right now. They made the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They were still good last year up until a point. If you remember, they were the 1 seed. They were, I think, 11-1. They had beaten the Chiefs, and then they just fell off a cliff and lost in the first round. But that was was kind of weird. I think that was largely a coaching thing more than anything. I think that at least for next year, you feel okay if you're an Eagles fan. Yes, they could lose a piece or two. They also draft very well. They could gain players, and some young players could just get better as they get more playing time. But I do think that, you compare them with a team like Buffalo, who I made one of these videos earlier, and it's for Buffalo, it's kind of a decision of like, okay, do we try and make sure we go all in one of these years, or do we wait and try and just be really good for the next 10 years? I don't really think the Eagles have that. And part of it is, again, when you do something like this, when you see where a team is at, you have to evaluate the roster. I like Jalen Hurts. I just don't think he's on that caliber of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I just don't. And if you disagree with me, that you're allowed to do that. But that's how I view it. So because of that, they might need this sort of great roster that they currently have, which usually you need a great roster to win a Super Bowl regardless, but you get what I'm saying. And because of that, I don't think it'd be crazy if I'm the Eagles to even try to put a little bit more effort this season into making the team even better in this next offseason. Like, whether you win a Super Bowl or lose it, you might not have that many more windows, that many more shots. So let's try and, push for it right now. A rebuild is going to come in the near future. Don't run from it, but maybe try and say, okay, that's going to happen. Let's not be stupid here. Let's not say, well, we don't want to be that bad when we rebuild. Be bad when you rebuild. That's fine. The Rams were bad when they had a rebuilding season a couple years ago, and then we're good. Tampa Bay they actually weren't bad when they rebuilt, but they were okay to being bad. Baker Mayfield signed a $4 million deal and was good for them, so it worked out, but they were ready to be bad for a year. Like, sometimes that's what you have to do. Push for it when you can, and then try and see if something can happen. That's kind of where I see the Philadelphia Eagles at right now. And again, this is kind of where things get different for certain teams. Some teams, it's like, okay, how do we get better? How do we fix the issues we have? The Eagles don't have to fix a lot, right? I mean, what's their biggest issue? I don't know. I mean, I don't really think of one. Maybe you could argue they could add another receiver, I guess, if you want to have a third receiver, although Dallas Goedert is often the third options on these plays. Any team can always use depth because injuries do happen, but you could always use another lineman. You could always use, could use another backup running back. At the end of the day, they're okay. The other thing I would throw in here at the end of this video, though, is the Saquon Barkley thing. How good is Saquon Barkley going to be? Because running backs can fall off a cliff, and they can fall off a cliff quickly. They also can have long careers. Sometimes that happens as well. Maybe Saquon will have another 3 great years, and you're good. But that's another just aspect of this, is I think that you might want to, have some urgency here because you don't know how many good years Saquon's going to have. This has been such a great fit, having Saquon Barkley and having this offensive line and having Jalen Hurts, that when you lose him, Saquon Barkley's don't grow on trees. And I don't know if teams are just going to let them walk in free agency again after how well Saquon Barkley did. So you might want to make sure that you can be competitive now while you still can. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, they're in the Super Bowl, so it's going all right for them. That's what I think about all this. So to set the stage for the stakes heading into the Super Bowl, obviously it's a Super Bowl, so there's big stakes. I do think they could do it again if they lose this game, but it's going to be tough, and I don't know how many shots they'll get. So if you're an Eagles fan, you really want this one, obviously. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.